Hey, I'm back. It's Corey. I'm going to finish Manfred Von Carstein, and I'm going to give him a horrifying base. First step is to airbrush most of the model. I'll be starting with an abyssal blue, then adding in a brighter blue, forest green, lime green, ending in a yellow and a near white. I'm not trying to just get the skulls here. I'm completely fine with the paint getting on the bones. In fact, it's going to make things easier down the road. When we paint over those bones, the paint that I'm doing now is going to come through and act as kind of a glow effect. So oil paints. Oil paints are great. I'm grabbing a mishmash of different colors I think will make sense for bone. I'm going to be intentionally adding in some purple to the recesses, which I've seen on skeletons before, and I think it adds a creepy undead vibe to them. The two most important brushes I found for oil are a filbert or duckbill looking brush and a cheap brush that you're okay with sacrificing to oil painting. For a wash, I add a ton of odorless paint thinner. At first I didn't add enough here, and I have to go back and add more, but it's oil paint, so I just add more and go back over the area, and it's fine. Oil painting on miniatures is relentlessly forgiving. Q-tips, and by Q-tips I mean specialty artist Q-tips that don't leave little fibers on everything, and makeup sponges, which are great and cheap, are incredibly useful because you can take oil paint off of the highest sections and just leave it in the recesses. If you don't put any paint thinner on the brush or on the sponge or on the Q-tip, it'll never remove all of it, so it'll leave kind of a nice subtle gradient. If you want to completely remove the oil paint, then you add a little bit of odorless paint thinner to the thing that you're using to clean up the oil paint with, and it will completely delete it. So there's a lot of utility there. I'm going over the bone with the muddy brown I've thrown together, and I want more of the green undead glow to shine through than the blue. So in the areas where it's blue, I'm using a mix of less oil thinner, so it's more of a base coat than a wash. I found I got a little too much oil paint on the skulls in between the ribs there. I could touch those up later with the original skull color, and spoiler alert, I do end up doing that, but it's also easy to just jump in right now and quickly clean up those mistakes with a Q-tip. Next, I add some white and yellow to my brown mix and start overbrushing highlights. Overbrushing is like dry brushing without removing most of the paint. It's the same technique. I add more white and apply more focused highlights. Same as acrylic, it's just easier to get smooth blends because the paint doesn't dry right away. Last step is to paint white directly onto the extreme highlights, then use a brush that hasn't had thinner on it this session to blend it all in. Your old oil paint will devour the tone and value of the white, so you end up needing a lot more than you'd think. To make the base, I use water, Mod Podge, tile grout, limestone gravel, paint, and some old terrain features I haven't used in the last 3 years since I've owned them. As always, I spend forever figuring out where to place things and decide to just use the mausoleum. The fences don't quite fit, and I get the idea to have a ghost bursting out of it. I want the bars to be bending open, so I weaken them with a hairdryer to bend them back without breaking them, but I end up breaking them anyway, so c'est la vie.
Here comes the aeroplane!
So heads up, if you don't like seeing buckets of blood, maybe this is the time to dip out. We're going to get really nasty, so I start by mixing blood for the blood god, technical paint, with UV resin for the base, and then curing it with my UV light BFG. I want him to be jumping out of a pool of blood, so I mix Fabri-Tac with blood for the blood god, which gets stretchy and sticky like fresh
mozzarella.
For the snow base, I use AK stuff. I still don't know if I need the snow sparkles, but by God am I going to use every last one of them for what it cost. I realize how fragile Fabri-Tac is after I break a couple of them, so I paint the strands of blood with UV resin and blast them, making them pretty durable actually. You can tap with your fingernail and get a satisfying little click, click, click. And we're in the final stretch, just for the finishing touches. Some of the skulls look a little bit messy, so I have to touch them up. The saddle needs to be painted, even though it'll be mostly hidden under Manfred's posterior. The blood also ended up looking a little too tidy, so I used the airbrush on a brush method to make it look like a bloody disaster should. I get the idea to use flow improver diluted fluorescence to fill the skull's eyes higher up on the model, to make it kind of look like those skulls are just starting to like irradiate. It looks fine. I probably wouldn't do it again, or if I was doing this over, but it's worth a try. Okay, so full mea culpa here. I completely forgot about his stupid bone kerchief thing. I ended up painting it the same as Manfred's armor from the last video, but I just used an airbrush because the surface area is so large I can get away with it. I think it looks great. So check that out for more details in the last video if you have any questions about the color scheme. And after that, I guess we're pretty much done. Thanks for bearing with me, everyone. Sorry that took so long to get that second part out, but, you know, life finds a way to ruin everything.